Oops. That would help people online. Sorry about that. It went a long time without letting me know there was no sound. So that's all right. Whoops. Okay. Sorry to those online that didn't have sound. Sorry, go ahead, Vince.
Next slide.
All right, so part of the EASD grant as well, though this wasn't, correct me if I'm wrong, this wasn't necessarily something we were thrilled to be a part of.
No,
It's an
we were strong.
DPI sets an arbitrary number on what is an appropriate number of seclusion and restraints. They don't take into consideration the population you're serving. They don't take into consideration that you might be near a magnet school through the county, that we get a higher population of certain students. They don't care. They set an arbitrary number, and if you exceed that number, they're like, oh, you need help. You must not be doing things the right way. So if DPI is lurking online, thank you. So go ahead, Vince.
Yep. So again, in year 3, our deliverables were to improve the ability of all staff again. And our metrics were the seclusion and restraint incident reduction, education environments and the least restrictive environment, adult learning growth, student-specific goals, and utilizing evidence-based practice strategies with an emphasis on self-management and visual support. We did a lot of training with our DPI representative, Katie Berg. They worked collaboratively with our ES3 team, which had a representative from each building that was impacted, as well as the district level coaches.
So are you saying that the grant is already done and we're not participating in it now, starting this fall? Is that, or is this?
We finished the grant, but then we also received word that their restraint numbers were high.
Saw that.
So, yeah. And lagging, because that was from the 24-25.
Yep. Sorry, and I changed the date up there. But these are our numbers for this year.
It's 25. So 25, 26.
Well, we are identified by DPI was a year behind. But then are these the 25-26 numbers?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, this was 20.
Okay, that
so you see,
this is 25-26.
Yeah, we are
Our
going
25 number is what flags. Even though the 25.
even though the 2021, 22 numbers or 22, 23, I can't see. So
yeah, that's what flagged us initially for the ES3 grant.
yeah, what happened that year?
Well, it's, to be honest with you, when you go and you pull this up, and you're thinking seclusion and restraint. So somebody's taken to timeout because they're unruly, disorderly, and that's considered a seclusion. If they have to be escorted because they're physically dangerous, or that would be considered a restraint because they're physically escorted. So when you're dealing with the number of students that we have across the multiple buildings, oftentimes one student who's really dysregulated could account for 50 plus of those that we've had in a year, which seems like a ton, but when you divide it over, that's 1 every 3 days where a really dysregulated student has to get.
And I would say with our staff, practice is not, when we say restraint, we're not holding a kid. Like you said, when we're escorting a student to a safer place, that is considered a restraint, so that has to be documented.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as we get them to a safer place, we're not sitting there holding the student or restraining.
Do we see that COVID had anything to do with this?
Just gonna ask that question. I mean, do you think there was a spike there?
Yeah, well, it's that timeline.
I think reporting.
Oh, okay.
To be honest with you, the reporting criteria, the team's doing a better job of reporting and documenting.
Got it.
I don't think our practice changed.
Okay.
Yeah. And a lot of this has to do with, how many schools don't record every time somebody, teacher escorts a kid. Yeah.
Yep.
So, but not saying within our district, I think our district's pretty tight on that. We do a good job with our reporting, but there's also, the other side of the consequences to doing a good job on reporting.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then I just wanted to touch base on the educational environments and least restrictive environment. Whereas, the least restrictive environment is the legal principle instead of legal requirements found in the IDEA Act. That we must ensure the free and appropriate public education. So giving students access to their general ed peers and what is reasonable and honestly what's reasonable.
Reasonable
And what's
foundation.
most effective for that student. So the inclusion, the environments that the Alcorn area school districts provide full inclusion through the co-plan co-serve model, which is labeled as an A or coded as an A in the IEPs. A combination of inclusion or special education setting to address discrete skills or provide for identified needs. That could be A or B depending on the amount. Then we have highly structured resource rooms with access to alternate curriculum and functional skills with access to grade level classes throughout the day as being appropriate. That could be B or C. And then self-contained special education, where they spend the entirety of the school day, would be a C. And then an outside placement such as Lakeland School or alternate school setting would be a D or an E. And then homebound students are a J. So once we completed that, we met our goals for the continued improvement. Then moving forward, where the implementation teams as best practices across buildings for struggling students, continue staff professional development and evidence-based practices, and system-level conversations related to multi-tiered system of supports for all students related to positive behavior supports and interventions. And with the ES3 grant, we did learn some things that we were able to put into practice in our schools. We started to incorporate a lot of that behavioral data into our team meetings, and we're able to discuss strategies within our teams to really move on what we were doing with the kids and making adjustments more on the fly rather than waiting between the longer periods between meetings, So in that sense, I would say the S3 grant really did help us in that way.
So could you share with the board, like, for example, say there's a seclusion or restraint of a student, what's that process that takes place with the staff afterwards and the debriefing?
Yep. So after every seclusion or restraint, staff are required to have a debrief within 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if this happened at the very end of the day and say somebody's got to leave, okay, we're going to meet first thing in the morning. Or if it happened in the morning and we just don't have time during the day, at the end of the school day, we're meeting. And then we're talking about what led up to the seclusion restraint. Were there warning signs? What could we have done differently? Was the seclusion restraint necessary? So we kind of talk as a team about all of that after every single seclusion restraint. And then that also then makes you a little more aware moving forward if it wasn't, if the team says, maybe we didn't need to do that if we would have noticed this. Well, then maybe next time you would have noticed this.
Who is that? Who are they meeting with? Who's that team? Is it meeting with?
So a lot of times a building administrator would be involved,
Okay.
and then it's your crisis response team. We don't allow all staff to do a seclusion or to do a restraint.
All right. So the teacher isn't doing
Not
this,
necessarily the gen ed teacher they'll probably be part of the meeting because
Right.
they were probably there for the antecedent, but also the team that had to do the restraining or secluding.
okay.
So they would call over the intercom, will the crisis response team report to this location? And then they're all trained in the CPI training and so forth. That's
Okay.
the restraint, the
How many
de-escalation
people like at
training.
the middle school are trained in that?
So at the middle school, I would say most of the special education teachers are trained and your admin in the holds. So in the actual restraining. This year, all paras in the district will be trained in the de-escalation techniques. So on September 1st, all special education paras in the district are receiving the de-escalation training.
Okay.
IEPs. Do we write in certain IEPs where if a certain behavior is shown, that they're automatically escorted to, or do we, or is,
So we do write in behavior plans, and behavior plans can have a lot of the if then.
do we have to report that if it's
Well-
a if then?
If you're escorting the student, then
Yes.
yes.
Okay,
So a lot of behavior plans won't have that. A lot of them will say, if this behavior is, you try to catch that behavior in the behavior plans before it gets to the point of a restraint. So like if you start to see the student get agitated, offer this, offer an alternate placement, like an alternate route, offer a sensory break, so it'll give strategies.
we still have to report that.
No, if the
No.
student will willingly go, you'll report that.
Okay,
I will say though, and part of the concern that I have, and I don't want the team to worry so much about the data, is I've seen instances where you have an entire team of special education professionals and administration walking around the building, following a kid, ripping posters off the wall, banging on the doors, creating disruption. They'll reroute students because they don't want to escort the kid to the location because that triggers a seclusion restraint. As long as you're walking around, following the kid, trying to de-escalate them, that's not a seclusion restraint. And my feeling is, all right, you're doing damage to other people's property, you're ripping things off the wall, get their butt into the timeout room. I don't care about the data.
Right.
The kid needs to learn, these are lines that we cannot cross. I also feel like I know the school board's
Yes.
sentiments and feelings, and that you wouldn't want that sort of environment taking place in the school. So I think part of when Vince was hired, and that was the interview team, they're very much especially the staff that were from Melbourne, were like, we like that he's not afraid to tell a parent no, he's not afraid to make a difficult decision. And that's what it will take in some of these spaces, that no, I'm sorry, little Johnny's going to get escorted to the timeout room, and that's where he can throw his fit or make part of the behavior plan. He doesn't get to carry on as a pool all through the building. In my opinion, that's a safety issue. When you have the kid dysregulated, you don't know what they're gonna do next, you know, and so there's a little bit of, I feel, from the ES3 training. I think there were some very good things from that, but I also think there was some, to be frank, I hate to use this word, I don't use it lightly, some indoctrination of philosophies and beliefs on how to handle the kids that I don't feel are representative of how the board or the district would want to handle that. And so we just need to make sure that staff are aware that no, there's a line that, you know, we have and hold as an expectation. And I want the board to be clear that that will trigger more seclusion restraints, because we don't want staff walking all around the building,
Right.
kowtowing to a kid out of control.
Yeah, and I guess my belief too is if we have to clear a room because the kid's being unsafe, it's only until we can get that kid out of the room, and we're getting the kid out of the room.
Yeah.
So that the other kids can get back to learning.
Exactly.
If a kid is hitting a staff member, they're going home.
Yep.
I'm not keeping a kid at school.
Right.
That's gonna hit my staff.
Right.
Um,
And then we'll move towards what is least restrictive environment, you know, how often does that happen? And that may or may not, you know, lead to escalating decisions, but.
So like Jason mentioned too, like we did get flagged again
Yeah.
for our 24, 25 numbers for
Yeah.
seclusion restraints. It wasn't to the same level that we were flagged previously. So this time I had to meet with a representative from DPI, and since we were already working with Katie Berg for the ES3 grant, I just met with her again. I met with her and the middle school principal. We talked about the data. The student that all the seclusion restraints were for is no longer in Elkhorn. We placed them at Lakeland. You know, we're doing all the things that we needed to do. So all we had to do with that was discuss a plan. She submitted the plan to DPI. We should get it.
No, thank you for what you do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we're all on the same page on this, and appreciate it. My only question, so if we had 19 incidents, I'm just going back to the involvement of your whole team. So if we have 19 incidents, that doesn't seem like a whole heck of a lot. I'm worried about the man hours associated with that if you have to debrief and then you have to get involved, and then all the things. I'm trying to wrap my head around this.
Well, I don't have to be the one getting involved in the day-to-day. A lot of times that'll be the principals.
Okay.
Principals will be meeting with the special ed teachers. And again, if the gen ed teacher was there or not, it depends who was all there.
And it's 20 throughout the year of these incidents and the reports, and yeah.
How are these reports filed?
Right now we record them in NextPath.
Okay.
And then we submit those numbers to DPI.
That time of year. I know, this last year's numbers were down quite a bit.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
The
say.
year before.
Looks like that we dropped quite a bit.
We had
I would
challenges
say-
too,
I would
but
say-
we were
yeah, I
bending over backwards to serve.
Yep, I would say there probably should have been more.
So that seems to be a common theme. It's one, I think Jason said it. If it's one kid with 50 incidents, or if it's a small number of kids with a lot of incidents, that seems to skew the data that we would see, whereas it's really not a district-wide problem. It's more of an individual issue.
Yeah, and sometimes, it's just, it again is going back to finding what is the least restrictive environment for that student.
Sure.
Because
But it looks like 100% of those incidents are students with an IEP or a learning disability. Is that correct? Some kind of
yes.
Okay.
Yep. It's pretty rare that it's
Yeah.
a student that doesn't have it.
Yeah.
There could be an incident of physical altercation or something before a kid's been identified.
Sure.
Yeah. But it's rare.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for doing what you do.
Yeah, no problem.
Good luck in the coming months.
Might be a little grayer each time.
Maybe 8 years on the school board.
It's either gonna look like
This
this.
is.
I appreciate Vincent's response to DPI was much more professional and level-headed than mine. I appreciated that.
Well, thanks. All right, we're ready to move on?
Yes.
Mr. Tadlock? You have recommendations?
All right, we have a personnel sheet, quite a bit of filling positions still. All of our professional staff positions are now full.
Awesome.
We did have a resignation from the German teacher. We did fill that position. I don't know if did that make the
It's on
personnel sheet? Okay.
Yes.
It's on the.
All right. And so, yeah, a number of positions still. We are still supporting or hiring support staff, and I believe custodial staff as well, Nick, or
Just part-time.
just part-time? Okay. So if you're looking for a part-time gig or wanting to serve as a teacher assistant, we've got openings.
Can we?
What's that?
Can we?
Can you?
Yeah.
You can volunteer.
Volunteer. We can volunteer.
Oh, I don't know, who's gonna catch?
You can't get paid. You can volunteer, you just can't get paid.
Okay, so how do we, can I ask how we have Davey back?
I was just looking at that.
Yeah.
Cause the
Since he
part-time,
retired.
yeah, so the separation will be there. We had a part-time physical education opening. And
Okay.
retirees can work part-time,
Okay,
so he was selected for that.
okay. Got it.
And he waited the 75 days from his
Well, he
retirement.
will be before he starts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not,
Yeah,
I think
that's
it's
fine.
great that he can do that, but I just didn't know that we could, so.
Yeah.
I think he could.
They can part-time, in fact, I think technically you could work full-time for 1 year.
Yeah.
Is that correct? And then you'd have to stop it. They can do up to 0.6 and still draw their pension.
All right, thank you.
I'll move to approve the personal recommendation sheet for August 24th, 2026, including new employment contracts conditioned upon passing the background check and district mandated drug screening as presented.
I'll second.
You moved and seconded to approve the personnel recommendation sheet for August 24th, 2026, including new employment contracts conditioned upon passing the background check and district mandated drug screening as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We unfortunately do not have any gifts to present today.
No gifts, no.
But there is an
That's
announcement.
rare.
This is special recognition. Julie will be our last level 3 board member. Congratulations to Julie.
Thanks, everybody.
Get a plaque.
I won't get your
You
shirt.
do get.
I won't be, yes, I get a pin and there's number 3 on it. I got a 2 a couple years ago.
Nice.
We can put that into like the historical,
Yeah, I got a drawer.
Yeah, exactly.
which is where it is at my house.
Looking for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
I
Opposed?
got a text on it.
Okay.
That's like for the